Afternoon, everyone. Welcome, and I'm glad you're back again. It's nice and sunny out today, so we're very happy about that. And we have our special guest, Ron Chiovetti, who I will talk to you about in just a minute. Um, it is with great appreciation that we, the residents of Protection Island, acknowledge this land as the unceded territory of the Snuneymuxw First Nation and of their legacy throughout the island. We want to thank Emily and Marlene for always coming to help and set up the kitchen, and we have coffee and cookies thanks to them. And techie stuff. This talk is being recorded, and Emily will let us know in a few days when it's available for us on ProAl. As you can see, we've temporarily gone back to store-bought cookies and goodies because our kitchen is going to be upgraded, and the staff are coming over from town on February 10th. So, hey, we might get some better treats after that, but who knows? Donations will go to the PI players today. And our last week's donations went to the guides, and that was $36.85. So now I'd like to tell you about Ron. He's an entrepreneur, businessman, president and owner of Isle Golf Cars. Ron was born in Toronto. He attended U of T and then moved to Calgary, where he lived and worked for 27 years. A close friend was manager of a golf course there, and he became interested in an opportunity to purchase a golf car company on Vancouver Island. In 2007, he asked Ron to partner with him, and soon the two were owners of Isle Golf Cars in Parksville. In 2008, Ron was able to buy out his friend. The business is a distributor for club cars specifically, where it supplies vehicles to golf courses, universities, hotels, resorts, the general public, and more. And that's us. Ron estimates that there are about 4,000 golf cars on Vancouver Island and the surrounding islands. And his company has about 85% of the business. They cover sales and parts and services, and the occasional trip to places like ours, where Ron hopes to better educate us so we can become more self-sufficient, better golf car owners. If done properly, this will help you save money. We will have fewer car problems, and we are all in tune for that. Ron is married with 2 grown children. His outside interests include anybody? Golf. And he and his wife raise horses. Please welcome Ron Chiovetti.
Thanks, Beth.
You're welcome.
Thank you for inviting me to this opportunity to hopefully bring some education, some knowledge to the table for everybody. Protection Island is one of our challenging destinations, A, because it has to be, accessed by barge, and B, because of the climate, right? So you're surrounded by water, and that's one of the challenges with warm weather, water, and things that lead to corrosion. And corrosion is the one thing that causes us the greatest concern with golf carts. So I want to walk through a little bit of that. We, back in October with Kimberly's help, we put together a no-charge assessment opportunity where Kimberly and one of our technicians, Jeff, came over and, people signed up and they did an evaluation of the golf carts. So, I think we touched about 40 golf cars. Go ahead, Emily, I'll let you hit that if you want. So 40 people signed up. We found 5 carts with absolutely no water in the batteries, 6 carts with very low water in the batteries, and 4 carts with overfilled batteries. So those are all problems. And 80% of the carts had corrosion on those cables. 80%. So out of the 40, right, that's huge. That's 32 out of the 40. We're guessing maybe there's 100 golf carts on Protection Island. So if 80% of them have corrosion problems, therein lies the issue. If you bought a set of batteries today for your golf cart and started today, you should get 8 to 10 years life out of it. People are finding 3 and 4 years life because of the corrosion problem, because they're not getting the proper connections. So we need to really focus on the corrosion problem because it leads to all the other problems with the batteries. If the batteries are properly maintained and the cables are kept sprayed with a terminal protectant, and the batteries are watered once a month on a regular basis, everything else looks after itself. I mean, there's really not much that can go wrong with the batteries and the charging cycle if that corrosion is kept away. And, you know, as Bev said, there's 4,000 golf carts in our territory. It's a lot. We can only do so much. The hope is if we can educate people to move to a more proactive as opposed to reactive management for their own carts, it's going to save you thousands of dollars, you know, in the cart repairs and battery replacement. There's new technology out now with lithium battery packs. They're $3,000 more than a regular golf cart battery pack. So it's not an inexpensive solution. $5,000 for a lithium pack. There's still going to be cables connected to the lithium pack that can have corrosion. So it's not necessarily the answer. Whatever you hear about lithium is great, but it's not the answer. It's not going to solve the corrosion problem. The only way to solve it is whether it's once a month or once every couple of weeks, lifting that seat up and having a look and saying, hey, what can I do to try and keep that from going away? Whether it's a wire brush, you know, to brush it off. I mean, I grabbed a pair of gloves out of Kimberly's cart, but I would caution you before you do anything under the seat to put on some type of safety glasses and to have these gloves. You can buy a box of these from any drugstore, any Lordco, anywhere, but always have gloves on because the battery acid, look, it can cause blindness. It'll eat through your clothes. It'll burn through your skin. It's very, very dangerous. So anytime you lift the seat of that golf cart, please have gloves on and glasses and be prepared for handling that acid because it's very dangerous. So something we're cautious of. In the old days, if you had 24 caps, you had to unscrew and fill 24 cells with water. Every time you lift those caps and set them down, you're putting acid on the tops of the batteries running. So we've created this single point watering system, which hopefully most of you now have, so that, you know, with a hand pump, you just simply squeeze it and it fills all of those cells without ever having to lift the caps. It has valves that tell it when it's had enough water, so it reaches the perfect level. When we used to water them by hand, you have some that are overfilled, some that are underfilled within the battery. So as soon as you plug it in, the overfilled ones boil over and the underfilled ones eventually boil dry. So it's important to get them all at the same level. And the only way to do that is with these single point watering systems with hand pumps. So before we go on, anybody have questions about corrosion? Anything I'm not clear on? Please interrupt and ask. Go ahead.
So since corrosion is, we'll say, our number one issue, there's what you can see visibly at the terminals. Is corrosion also happening in the hidden parts of our golf cart that you inspect?
It's not a yes, but it's not as much of a problem. I mean, the golf carts are made out of aluminum and plastic for the most part, so you're not seeing a lot of metal parts that can have corrosion. But having said that, you know, therein lies the challenge of washing the cart. And at this time of year, nobody's excited about washing their golf cart when it's 3 degrees out. So it becomes a bit of a challenge. But there are other parts that you can certainly watch for corrosion building up.
So it's enough just to confirm, you can just wire brush what you see at the terminal, right? That's how you can clean it and then spray on the anti-corrosion stuff?
Yes, we're going to show you, we'll go through the presentation. I'll show you what you can do with this, okay, and how to prevent it. So,
and sorry, one more word, for the single point watering system, I was always taught, like, you squeeze your bulb till it goes hard, right? And so you can't overfill with that single point watering.
right, as long as you stop when it gets hard, you're good.
You're good, thank you. Good.
Yeah.
I always worried about that.
Go ahead, Emily. Okay, so here's the next thing, a risk of explosion. We don't often think about that, but dry batteries, they produce hydrogen gas. So if there's no water and that gas is now exposed and you plug in a charger to a 48-volt battery pack, a dry battery may explode. I can't even tell you how dangerous that is. We've had probably 4 or 5 of them explode. When we were here in October, we dealt with one that had exploded here on Protection Island. And I'll show you that picture. But this, so again, batteries run dry. The charging may cause them to explode. There's a risk of fire. So if that was if you were to plug that card in and leave the island and there was an explosion, it caused a fire, could it burn your house down? Absolutely. All because there isn't 50 cents of water put in that battery pack. That's the risk of explosion, is not having water. When you think about how inexpensive the water is versus a $2,000 battery pack, it's a very, very small amount to think about paying, or a small amount of attention. So go ahead with it. So here's the battery that exploded. This was here on Protection Island. So it literally exploded the whole casing of the battery and sent acid flying, and fortunately nobody was hurt. When the cart stopped working and our technician came over, he and Kimberly lifted the seat and discovered that's why it wasn't working, because it literally exploded. So most of you are aware of the tow run switch. Is there anybody that's not familiar with that? Number one is always put it into tow. It disables all the batteries. I wouldn't be cleaning terminals. I wouldn't be doing anything. You lift that seat, put it in tow. Don't touch anything under the cart until that switch, and disable the battery pack so you're not playing with a 48-volt battery pack.
When you fill the batteries, should you do that too?
You don't have to.
Oh,
If you're just filling the batteries, that's easy.
Okay.
But anything you do with those terminals should be protected.
And how often should you fill the batteries?
Look, we tell people it has to do with weather. It has to do with how often you use your cart. So at this time of the year, once a month is fine. If we get into a real hot summer, every 2 weeks is better. You can't overfill. So if you try, it only takes 4 or 5 squeezes of the pump, then fine. I would rather, when we get into that 90-degree temperature range, that all of a sudden you're doing it twice a month. For what little it takes to do it, it takes 15 or 20 seconds to do it or check it, it's well worth the effort. Because again, in dry climate, and every time the batteries are being charged, it's evaporating some of that water. So there's an acid mixture in that battery. When you add water, that acid and water mixes. It can only be helpful to have it filled up all the time.
And Ron, sorry, it's like my neighbor said to me, oh, you never have to add water in the summer, blah, blah, blah. And I'm saying, no, any battery like my RV, you've got to keep checking it, because if it stays on maintaining charge 24/7, it is going to go down.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, if you were to go away, I don't know if people travel south anymore with our fearless leader down there, but if you're down to the States for 3 months, there's a way to shut down that golf cart. If you left it plugged in, it'll automatically turn on every 10 to 14 days, and eventually it'll run that battery pack dry. We have on our website, we have long-term disconnects, and please pick up the phone. There's 8 or 9 of us that are happy to answer that question. People phone us all the time and say, hey, I'm going away for 3 weeks. Do I have to do anything? The answer is no. If you're going away for 2 months, the answer is choose a path. Either have somebody water your batteries, or we'll show you how to disconnect 2 cables that would allow that pack to stay fine. You can be away for 6 months, come back, and in 2 minutes you're back up. But leaving it plugged in is not safe.
So let's say they need a little top up, and you do that. If you do that, let's say you get home and check it, and you realize, okay, they need a top up, and then you plug it in, or is it better to top it up and drive it around, let those fluids mix before you do the next recharge cycle?
Okay, so I have it on a slide, but I'll tell you the best is to water in the morning and then drive the cart. If you water it at night and the water is sitting on top of that acid and not mixing, and you plug it in, chances are it'll boil over. As soon as it boils over, you get acid, then you get corrosion. You should always water in the morning, or if you water at night because you don't have time to do it, don't plug it in right away. Wait till the next day to dry it. But you should always drive it and let that acid and water mix. Does that make sense, everybody?
I think the book says not, because when I water mine, I never plug it in right away. I think I read that in a construction manual. Yeah,
Don't plug it in
right away. Just wait a while for it to mix.
Yeah. And again, you're plugging it in, you're sending electric charge through that battery pack. It's important that everything's secure. And I didn't put it on a slide, but can I just say no extension cords? Okay, that's the worst thing to do. If you plug a refrigerator in with an extension cord, it'll work, but it won't work at full efficiency. So what it does is it creates a sulfation of your battery pack that's not getting a proper charge. It might take 15 hours to charge instead of 6 hours. And that slow, not getting a proper charge will lead to sulfation, and it's very detrimental to the life of the battery. So no extension cord. And if you absolutely live in a place you need an extension cord, then you need to go somewhere and buy an extension cord with like an 8-gauge cable, like a really thick extension cord, and keep the distance to the bare minimum. You know, so if you have an 8 or 10 gauge cord that's only 10 feet long or 12 feet, that works. So if you have to, just get the right gauge. You take those little lawnmower cords, the little orange ones, it's terrible for these. So hopefully that answers it.
One more question.
I thought I'd read somewhere that it's best to water the batteries after the cart has just been running rather than a cold cart. No,
It's just water. You always want to water it and then dry it. So it gives a chance to mix. So that cart comes in and it's, you know, it's warm, and you add water and then plug it in, you're causing it to overflow.
So with that scenario there, just replace the one battery, or do you have to replace all of them?
It's a good question. We replaced one, because there's no damage to the rest. But if that battery pack was older, and you can tell by the picture, it's a fairly new battery. Can't see the code. If the battery's fairly new, when I say new, within a year old, you can drop one in. If the battery pack was 5 or 6 years old, and you put one new one in, that new one's going to do the bulk of the work, and it's going to drain that new one down and meet with the other 5. So once a battery pack's several years old, it makes more sense to change all 6. In this case, we're able to just change the one, I believe. So that's the, you know, again, it's a judgment call based on the age of the batteries.
I think it's important for the island to know how much does a battery weigh?
Oh, yeah.
65 pounds.
When you're talking about trying to change batteries here, the transportation of it is significant decision point as well, because it's very difficult to transfer some batteries here.
And we also have an environmental risk in that we're not even supposed to transport batteries by boat. It's a challenge, right? We have designated certificates for transporting dangerous goods, but they frown on it because there's a risk if you're in a boating accident or the batteries were to spill into the water. So it's a risk because of the acid. They don't mind if they're in a golf cart. They don't like being transported single or in packs. So go ahead. Okay, so here's our corrosion problem. So watering at night, then charging the cart may lead to acid boiling over. We've talked about that. Water the batteries in the morning and then drive the cart. Overfilling leads to acid boiling over, and acid will lead to corrosion, causing the cables to break down and not carry the proper current. So I think we've covered that. Any more questions on that part of it? Makes sense? Okay, go ahead. Here's what corrosion starts to look like. That's the main cable. So if there's corrosion on the main cable coming in that's feeding the power to the whole pack of 6, therein lies the problem, because it's now not getting a full charge from the main positive. So it's the most important cable going into that pack. Not that the other ones aren't important, but the main positive coming in, which is the first one, batteries are all wired in series. So go ahead. And there's what corrosion happens when you leave it alone. So you start to get that buildup around the terminals. What happens is that eventually we find those cables can actually break. Not only are you not getting a proper charge, but that cable just snap off in your hands. And again, I'm using round numbers. Battery pack with this without barge fees, but battery packs are $2,000. A set of cables is $40. So that's a $4 cable. It's important to look after it because it's the weak point in the battery pack. Go ahead. Okay, so if corrosion is present, we spray off the battery terminals with a neutralizer spray. So to go back to your point about using a wire brush, that's option 1. The advantage of using a neutralizer is and this is just simple, I don't think we sell it, but it comes from Lordco. And what it does when you spray it is you don't have to handle it. Remember, if you took a wire brush, you're spreading that acid everywhere with a wire brush. It's not necessarily getting rid of the problem. It could be going down on the ground. It could be going, on your clothes. Wire brushes, sort of the old school, we used to do that. You can still do it if there's a little bit, but if there's a lot, you want to spray it with this. And here's what it looks like when you spray it. Go to the next. Okay, so it looks like that when you spray it. So that's a neutralizer. It neutralizes all the acid. So it takes all the dangerous chemicals and neutralizes it. You let it sit for 3 or 4 minutes and you spray it off with a garden hose. It's that simple without having to touch it. So we have carts come in for service all the time with acid. We spray everything that comes in. We wait, we wash it before our technicians put it on their hoist because we don't want them handling acid. It's very dangerous for our staff, so we do that. Go ahead, Emily, and hit the next one.
What's the actual name? Oh, the name of the can? There we go.
Yeah, it's a battery cleaner. It comes from Lordco. So, and it says with acid indicator. So that yellow indicates the presence of acid. You spray it on them within a few seconds, it changes color, and then, it looks yellow. And again, washing it onto the ground with a garden hose isn't going to hurt it because you've neutralized it first. Does that make sense?
It doesn't matter spraying the whole battery compartment.
No, we spray all the tops of the batteries. It's better to do that. Better to coat it completely to make sure. And when it turns that color, it's telling you the presence of acid is there. So simple way to do it. Again, I'd wear gloves, I have glasses, but you just spray it all down. And this is once a month if you had corrosion. If you don't have corrosion, you don't have to do that. And then, sorry, and we go to the next one for me. Okay, there's what it should look like finished. So you wash it off, you dry it with a rag, and then you spray the other product, which is a terminal protectant spray, which is it looks the same can, but it's called battery terminal protectant. And it's red, and now there's no corrosion, and it should protect that pack for, I'm going to say 30 days. So you wash it down the next time. But if you wash this once a month, you should never have corrosion. You're washing it, you're keeping it clean, and that protectant spray could last 2 or 3 months. And these cans will last you a year. If it's for your own cart and you're just doing what we say, you'll get a whole year. So they're $15 or $20 a can, but you'll get a whole year out of the can. So it's not like it's a lot of money to spend.
Should this, before you spray, should you put it into the no-toe? Or should you disconnect one of the cables?
No, you can do anything. I'm suggesting anything you do other than watering your cart should always be in tow.
Okay.
It's a safety feature. Always put the cart in tow. You're just disconnecting this live battery pack.
When you
Sorry?
when you put it into tow, that
It
disconnects.
shuts down everything.
Everything.
All the batteries, everything. You can pull cables off, anything.
So when you spray with water, it doesn't matter, it doesn't go to ground.
No.
See, I don't, I was reading my booklet and it said, put it in the toe. And then also make sure that I disconnect the positive and the negative
To do what?
to do any work.
To do anything.
Well, if you're doing mechanical work, you could do that.
Okay.
But just this type of work, not necessary. We never do it. We don't have to do it. If you were having to replace a battery or replace a cable, you want to make sure. So then you take the main positive and the main negative, and the main positive and the main negative. One comes out of one end here, one comes out of the other end, and then it runs in series to the battery. So if you're doing any work on the batteries, replacing a cable, replacing a battery, absolutely you want to disconnect. But as far as washing them, spraying them, no issue.
So if you're cleaning the batteries and protecting, and you're also watering in the same session, does it matter which order that's in?
No,
Okay.
because where the water goes is not
Yeah.
it's going into these sealed units. So
Would changing the position of the batteries every once in a while, like rotating them, so battery number 1 isn't always battery number 1, does that have any effect on life?
no, in fact, when we take batteries out of a cart, if we put the same pack into a different cart for whatever reason, we match position 1 to the next one. We always keep them. They're meant to be in series and they're meant to never be shifted around.
Okay.
They prefer to always be in position 1. And position battery number 1 is not taking more effort than any other battery. Now that you brought that up, if you were doing the Canadian Tire thing and you wanted to put some lights on your cart without spending $1,000 and you hook them up, we would recommend you use what's called a voltage reducer. And it takes it from 48 volts down to 12 volts, so it works with a set of blends. If you try to run them off 1 or 2 batteries, it's going to affect the life of those 1 or 2 batteries. And again, everything electronic is supposed to be running on 12 volts. So when you have 8-volt batteries, you'll never get to 12. You get 8 or 16, it never works. So if you're putting your own lights on, I would highly recommend that you look at a voltage reducer. Now, we're the distributor for Club Cars. We have people go to Amazon and buy parts. A voltage reducer from Club Cars is probably $400. It's probably $125 on Amazon, assuming you get the right one. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm not telling you not to do it, but there are times when it may make sense to get a less expensive product. Here's where it doesn't make sense. We had a customer come in a couple of years ago, bought a set of batteries from us, loaded them in his car, went home and put them in himself. I'm okay with that, assuming he knew what he was doing. Came back 3 days later. I said, what are you doing? He says, I fried the whole pack of batteries. Said, what do you mean? Brand new. I looked under the seat and they were burnt because there was a fire. And 3 of the cables were black. And I said, where did you get these cables? He said, well, Canadian Tire. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, they were $4 and yours were $6. I'm like, so then he bought another set of batteries and he said, I need 3 cables. I said, do you honestly think I'm going to send you away with 3 more Canadian Tire cables still on that car? Go catch fire next week. I gave him a whole set of cables for free. I said, please don't do that. And it's not because the thickness of the cable was wrong. It's because the little eyelet was too big and it arced and it caused a fire. So please, for the least expensive thing you can buy from us is battery cables. They're meant to work with those batteries. Cutting that, you know, if you want to save money on a voltage reducer, I get it. But saving $2 or $3 on buying the wrong cables is absolutely the worst thing you can do. They're meant to work with these batteries, and our chargers are meant to work with these batteries. I'll tell you one more story. Costco somewhere sells batteries for golf carts. People buy them, they come back and say, I only got 1.5 years out of the batteries. The charger is matched to the batteries. So if you put a foreign set of batteries in, whether it's Lordco or Canadian Tire or Costco, and the charging algorithm hasn't been adjusted, it's either going to overcharge or undercharge and lead to premature death of that battery pack. And you're going to get maybe 2 years versus 8 to 10 years by simply getting the right charger that matches the algorithms. We take care of that. If you're going to go buy something that's not, pick up the phone and ask us for advice and we'll help you with that anytime. But the mistake commonly is buying the wrong batteries or the wrong charger or the wrong cable. All leads to the same conclusion, $2,000. And if you're on an island, $3,000 because of the barge.
So I bought my golf cart from you guys and then I am, or I did replace the batteries, bought them at your place, the Trojan or whatever they're called, the ones. And still have the original charger. So that's okay because it's the same
Right.
product,
Same algorithm.
So it's not like every time we
No.
new batteries need every.
It's only if your charger was to break and you went somewhere else and bought one online somewhere that didn't match.
And or if you switch brand of batteries. Okay,
Right.
Thank you.
My charger is the one that I bought from you guys with my new cart. But there's been times when I've helped out someone else by loaning them my charger. Is that?
As long as the batteries look the same, if they're red Trojan batteries, it shouldn't be a problem. And look at any charger will work. We're talking a long-term problem. If you had it plugged in for 6 months or a year and it's overcharging or undercharging, it's going to lead to problems. For a day or 2 or 3 helping somebody isn't a problem.
Okay.
It's so important to understand those things. So we found a manufacturer in the Philippines, because we're all trying to deal with this Donald Trump thing. But anyway, we found a manufacturer in the Philippines that has batteries that are $400 to $500 less per pack than these. We've had them for 4 months. We've tested them in golf carts. We've done the discharge testing. We've looked at the amp hours. We've looked at all the things. And so far, they're working fine. And the algorithm is exactly the same as this one. So you could put these they're made by a company or sold by a company called Edmunds Batteries in Vancouver, Langley, somewhere over there. But they swear they're as good as Trojan. We've tested them, we're finding it, and we just ordered 1,200. Because we're gonna do a whole fleet of golf carts with these batteries, because we're that confident. In fact, we're gonna do the fleet at Bear Mountain, which is the highest elevation golf course we have, and we're confident these batteries are gonna last. So going forward, that option exists for you. So it's a way to save some money, and it's a battery pack we stand by, and the algorithms are the same. So that's
What kind of
positive.
savings?
Sorry,
What kind of savings?
$500 a pack. So instead of $2,000, it'd be $1,500.
I've dealt with your company quite a bit, and I just bought a brand new unit. And I've had problems with the batteries. And they were telling me in the shop that one of the biggest problems on the Protection Island and a couple of the other islands is the vibration on these things.
The vibration?
Yeah.
So vibration can cause the cables to come loose.
And so you gotta check every time, like I check them once a week.
Yeah, so
2 weeks.
we've got a slide in there that talks about tightening the cables. So when you're on a gravel path,
Yeah,
so we have golf courses that have paved paths and we have golf courses that have no paved paths. And the no paved paths, the maintenance and the checking, the proactive checking is far greater than the ones with paved paths because of that gravel and vibration. So yes, you're gonna have that.
so I ended up with the warranty still on my original pack, and they replaced 3 of them. Is that a good idea? Should I?
Yeah.
add all?
No, you're fine. If it's under warranty, that's fine. So the warranty when you buy a brand new golf cart is 4 years for the batteries. Because it's all part of the club car umbrella. When you buy replacement batteries, it's 18 months. Both from Trojan and from this new company called Edmunds. 18 months. Because if there's going to be a problem, you're going to find out in the first 6 or 8 months if there's a problem. So once you get to 18, it should be fine.
But this vibration on these roads is shortens the life of these batteries.
Shouldn't shorten the life if you keep the terminals tight. Shouldn't shorten them at all. They're meant for that. They're sealed.
Okay.
Go ahead. Okay, so we talked about the high cost of transportation. So if you need to tow this cart to the barge, and the barge fee could be as high as $400 each way, and it might take 7 to 10 days to get to it. And the return is 3 to 4 days. So, again, you may be without this cart for 2 weeks. And depending on when it happens, and depending on how busy we are when they land, again, go back to the 4,000 carts. We're getting them from everywhere. We're getting them from every island you can imagine. So go ahead. So here's our proactive maintenance. So we talk about plugging in the cart every night. So that's just a simple way to do it. No extension cord, plug it every night. Doesn't matter if you went to your neighbors, came back. It's always better with lead acid batteries to keep them fully charged. Certainly above 50% at a minimum. So if you're using your cart a lot, the light comes on, it means you're down to 20%. For sure you want to plug it in. But plugging it every night is important. Don't expose the charger to the open rain and fill the batteries with distilled water. So if distilled water is hard to get, I have a water cooler at home with the big blue jugs of spring water. That's fine. You can use that. It just has to be pure, clean water, not garden hose water. So buy the big blue jugs, whatever is easier to get here. Tire pressure. The average cart that comes in for service has less than 10 pounds of pressure in the tires. So physics would tell you that if we push the dead cart with 8 pounds of pressure in the tires and we push one with 20, guess which one's easier to push? The soft tires are prematurely wearing down your batteries. We talked about corrosion. Air pressure is wearing the batteries because the batteries have to work 50% harder if they're at 8 or 10 pounds of pressure than if they're at 20. It stands to reason that a battery pack will run perfectly on level paved ground. If you introduce hills, it takes more energy. If you introduce gravel, it takes more. And if you have soft tires, it'll run those batteries down fast. So again, you can buy a small air compressor and a small gauge, keep the tires full at all times. And at this time of year with this weather, it could be a twice a month thing to check. Once a month would be great because most of you aren't probably doing it once a year. Once a month would be a huge improvement. But you'll find how much better it steers and how much better it runs if you have air pressure in the tires. So that's a really important thing. Wash off the battery tops of the garden hose. And again, not a pressure washer, just put the garden hose on some type of a spray nozzle and stand back and just spray it down and clean it. It just dries on its own. If you find the terminals are exposed, then wipe it down with a rag and spray it with that terminal protectant.
Mine said on the tires, it says 30 to 32 pounds. Okay, should I run it at that pressure all the time?
You must have different tires.
Yeah, the big heavy square ones with the,
Okay, so then yes, do it at that 30. I would just run it the lesser of the two. I go to 30, not 32.
on the island here, sometimes when it snows, you can't, the regular tires, they won't handle it so.
Right. So again, check them. When I talk 20 pounds, it's the regular golf cart tires. If you have anything different, then yes, check the sidewall. And when it says 30 to 32, I would pick 30, pick the lower one.
Yeah.
And you should be fine.
Yeah.
Tighten the battery terminal. So again, we didn't bring a wrench. So it's like just take a wrench and just simply just put it on the closed end of a wrench, half-inch wrench, depending on the batteries, it might be 9/16, but half-inch wrench, and just take 10 seconds, just tighten, 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 make sure they're good, then spray them down. And again, if that's once a month, because of the gravel roads here, because of the vibration, they'll come loose. And a loose battery terminal, A, isn't getting a full charge, and B, has a risk of arcing. So very important. We put our batteries on with a drill, but then we always go back and we hand tighten to make sure that they're properly tightened. You don't want to over tighten them because you could cause the terminal to spin, which means the battery is now useless. Yes, you have to just hand tight, means just, gently hug. And that's it. Does that make sense? WD-40. So the receptacle where you plug the charger in tends to have corrosion because again, the saltwater climate we're in. If you just little WD-40 in that open hole and at the end of your charger that has the 3 prongs will make the world of difference. A, it'll be easier to put it out, and B, you'll get a proper connection. We see people all the time saying, well, I plugged my card in, but it didn't charge. Well, it could just be as simple as that little receptacle, having a little bit of WD-40 sprayed in it. And at the end, again, once a month might be overkill, but it takes the whole process of this monthly is less than 10 minutes. And I would tell you, if you can't find 10 minutes to look after your cart, you're going to be faced with this $3,000 replacement of batteries because it's all it takes is that 10 minutes a month. Like a sunny day and just, try and get there.
Ron, contact cleaners, like I looked at that, I thought that was contact cleaner at first, so it's same difference,
It's
right?
terminal spray.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Spray.
that's not contact cleaner. This is WD-40.
Contact cleaner, it wouldn't matter if you wanted to spray it with that, it would be okay, contact cleaner.
I don't know. I think the WD-40 because it has a bit of a grease in it and you want it to grease
Get
so
rid
it,
of moisture.
yeah. I would stick to that.
Can one use the WD-40 silicone? Or just the regular old fashioned stuff?
Just a blue can.
Yeah.
they just changed.
Yeah, that's fine. You can do that. Yeah, that's fine. Anything that gives it a lubricant, oil, silicone, any of those help. It's just that little bit of a rust film that causes it to not make a good connection. And that's your charging point. So I would do that.
Just so you know, WD-40 has changed their chemical compound.
Now silicone.
They have silicone in it, the rest of it is all changed, it's all been. I bought 6 cans, the most.
It's funny, I taught a marketing course at the University of Calgary and it talked about brand recognition. So we grew up with J-Cloth and Kleenex and Kraft Dinner and all the brand recognition. So I'm guilty saying WD-40. It's just a spray lubricant, but we all tend to be programmed into buying name brands that are more expensive. It's interesting. Go ahead.
And the first one, plug your card in every day. I'm a firm believer in you can plug it in 24/7 and you're not going to hurt anything, right?
No.
Every time we come out, we plug it in, and if we're away a few days, you just keep it plugged in all the time, right?
Yeah. And the charger, it's a smart charger, so it knows when the batteries drop. If you haven't used your card, it's snowing, or you haven't used it for 2 weeks, it'll automatically just kick on and pick it up when it needs to. It's going to make sure that battery pack doesn't fall below 50%.
Okay, and what about that I read where you're supposed to, I think I talked to you about it, it says in the book to unplug it every once in a while, just, and it restarts the computer or something? I don't quite understand what that would do, I still do it myself, but maybe every day or two, maybe pull it out for a few minutes and then stick it back.
I'll go back to Bear Mountain, our most challenging course because of the high elevation. So when it's cold out, batteries don't work to their optimum level. So we tell golf courses, if you have a big tournament on a Saturday and it's cold out, Friday night, unplug every cart and plug it back in to give it a fresh charge. That's what that does. It gives it a fresh. Okay, so let's go to the 14-day cycle. You don't know if that charger is waiting for day 14 to kick in automatically. Well, if you were to jump in that cart on day 13 and take off, you're going to see that light come on and go, gee, and you go, what's wrong? I had it plugged in. It's a day 13 of a 14-day cycle.
Yeah.
So if you're going to head out to the far point of the island tomorrow, I'd suggest unplug it and replug it in tonight so you know you're going fully charged the next day. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Remember, it automatically waits till it gets to 50% and it kicks in, but we don't know what day it's at. So for golf courses, we always say the night before, unplug every one of your 100 carts and plug them back in so you know Saturday morning they're fresh.
So I'm just not clear what you're saying there. So are you saying if you plug it in and you don't drive it, it's a 14-day cycle?
It'll turn on somewhere between 10 and 14 days. Automatically, it'll charge for you. I'm just saying, if you were away and you came home, you don't know where it is in that cycle. And if you knew you're going to use your cart the next day, it doesn't hurt to unplug it and replug it in. Unplug it, wait for a few seconds and plug it back in. It just resets you back to a full charge. And again, you don't have to. It's just a good habit if it hasn't been used for a long time.
This is the new chargers that do all this setting.
Yeah, even the old ones do it.
Oh, the old ones do too.
The old big aluminum chargers, yeah, they do it. In fact, they're probably, and the new ones are a solid state charger.
Yeah.
They don't even wait the 14 days. Those kick on in day 7 or 8, but the older ones, it's more like a 14-day cycle.
It also, the instructions had said, once you plug it in, don't unplug it until it stopped, you know, that you know it's full. And sometimes it's like, uh-oh, I gotta go out.
No,
again.
you're fine. It's
20
not gonna
minutes
hurt.
later, it's not-
Again, anything you do on a one-off isn't gonna hurt anything.
Yeah.
All you're doing is disrupting, saying you didn't get a full charge cycle.
Right.
You'll get it the next day. Don't worry about any of those things. You can unplug, replug, none of those things matter. If you did it on a regular basis, I'd say over time it's gonna cause a problem, but the one-offs is no.
You might get to this later, but your choice to answer it now or later. We're lucky enough not to have the freezing temperatures of out east, but we do get cold. Is there any point where the thermometer hits a certain temperature that we should do something different to keep our batteries from freezing? Or
Let's talk about alcohol. You can put a bottle of alcohol in the freezer with a 40% level of alcohol, and chances are it won't completely freeze, right? It gets gluey. If you put a bottle of wine in at 11%, it might break. If you put a bottle of beer in, for sure to break, because it's that, it's the amount of alcohol. So in batteries, the acid level is critical to keeping the freezing temperature down. If you were to add water when it's -20 out and not mix it, it's going to crack those batteries. So again, and I, from Ontario, and spent 27 years in Alberta, golf courses closed. They don't have places like this anywhere else in Canada, let's say. So we're unique in the fact that we're running these golf carts 12 months of the year. But was it last year or the year before we had a -15 for about 10 days? I would not be watering my batteries at -15, unless you could take that cart out and mix it with acid so it lowers the freezing temperature. It could crack the battery.
and keeping it plugged in, does that actually help keep the battery warm?
Yeah, it's keeping it charging. Yep, I would always keep it plugged in and cold with it. But just don't add pure water on top without mixing it, because it's going to freeze. So
That's what I learned too. If you keep it plugged in, that prevents the freezing. Keep it fully charged, in other words.
yeah,
To prevent a free, if your battery's low, then you can have an issue, but as long as it's fully charged, it should be okay.
yeah, and they remember a lot of these cart barns in Ontario and Alberta, places where it's -30, they just leave those carts in an unheated barn all winter, and there's no problem. So, but our recommendation for long-term shutdown, if you're going to Arizona or somewhere for the winter, is to not water those batteries for 2 or 3 weeks before you leave, so you're not leaving with just water sitting on top. And it'll say right in there, stop watering 2 weeks before you leave and use that cart. Make sure it's fully mixed before you go away. In case that temperature drops.
What are you considering long term?
2 months plus,
Okay.
2 months is fine.
I go down it used to go down all the time. It's like 2 weeks to 3 weeks. And I left it plugged in every time we had a new problem.
2 months is fine.
Yeah.
2 months is fine.
Okay.
Go ahead, but okay, so battery life. We talked about this 8 to 10 years. If the batteries run dry once, it's 25%, twice is 50%, the third time they're done. It does damage to the plates. In fact, if you had a brand new pack of batteries and you let it go dry, the plates warp. If you look in there, you see the little cardboard plates. If they warp, it voids the warranty. We go to send it back to Trojan and they go, sorry, someone let these go dry, no warranty. So the dry batteries don't lie. It tells you because the plates are warped. So it's very, very important. And again, explosion because of the hydrogen gas. So again, it all comes down to the batteries. Just a little bit of maintenance. Don't let them go dry, right? It's so important.
If your batteries do need to be replaced, is that something that you guys come over here to do?
We can't transport the loose batteries. I mentioned earlier, we have trouble transporting the batteries here. Then when we arrive, we need to get them in a cart and get them there and put them in. And it's the cost is higher than sending the cart back by barge, unfortunately. But sometimes we send somebody over, it's very expensive. So.
And I can contest, I drove there, bought the batteries, and you guys do have the best price. You can hunt all over, it's cheaper to buy them from. Here's your free ad. And I hauled them back myself. I don't think I'll ever do that again.
And we absolutely made sure Kimberly never does batteries again. I mean, they're 65 pounds, you're leaning over the cart, like it's just not fun. It's not fun at our shop. It's less fun when you're out here in the elements, you're on gravel and you're trying to do it. Then you got to take the old batteries that are covered in acid and try and get those back and put them on a boat or a barge. So we've said, please don't do batteries on site. It's just not fun. Look at if you got 8 to 10 years out of a battery pack, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But people are only getting 2 to 3 years of complaining of the high cost of batteries because they're not doing the preventive maintenance. So it's kind of part and parcel of saying, hey, let's get 8 to 10 years out of these batteries and avoid that from happening. Right? It's really, really important. Anyway, let's go on with what else do we have on here? Okay, so cleanliness under the seat could be garden waste, could be anything, leaves, just clean under the seat. We talked about the battery terminals, steering, if there's a problem with steering, Bev, right? And then tire wear, right? If all of a sudden one tire's out, it could be the front, you've hit something, a rock or a root or something. Those are all going to affect battery life. Brakes, again. So we have, I hate to go back to golf courses, but it's a big part of our business now. We have a GPS system that we can look on a laptop and tell that cart 17 has got a bent front end and it's in Victoria. Why do we know that? Because it's taking 30% more energy to drive that car than the rest of their fleet. So we phone down there, you say, hey, get some kid on the phone and say, can you run out and check cart 17 and see if the front wheels are bent? Sure enough, they've hit something because it's taking so much more energy to move that cart, or the tires are underinflated. So the new technology now allows us to go on a laptop and from our desk, we can see what's going on at all these golf courses. Now, we don't have that ability with private carts, but it's interesting how a front end or soft tires or anything affects battery life. Remember, these golf courses are using these carts in the summer twice a day, 7 days a week. They're going out a lot. So they get 4 years out of a set of batteries at best because they're just pounding those cars. So, okay, sailing a barge costs. I know what it cost us to bring our cube down over here for that week of service. We were $2,000. I know it's expensive. So, I mean, I know this is simple to say, find someone to bring the cart over because Will's Barge Service holds 2 carts. Anything to cut the cost. So instead of $400 each way, if it's only $200, that's helpful, right? Find somebody else to go with.
And you pick us up You offer like a trailer on the other side, or we gotta get the cart all the way to?
Well, Will's barge service literally picks it up here, brings it over, and he's got that trailer that just goes on land and
It goes all the way to your place.
he comes right to us. And we've priced it trying to have a truck go down and meet the barge, and it's still the most efficient, but sending 2 carts instead of 1 is important. When we go to Victoria, we never send a truck half full, or we try and get everybody on board with doing it. And if you don't have a choice, maybe you can get a ride with someone coming back. Anything to reduce that cost for it would be huge. Go ahead. Enclosure maintenance. So 90% of the people here have enclosures. How many people have taken them off and put Vaseline on their snaps? You boaters do, because that's what you do for your boat. You need to do it for your golf cart, because if you can get the snap off and put a little Vaseline on it, it'll make the world of difference for the life of that enclosure. If you get to the point where you're ripping it off and you tear the fabric, the enclosures are $1,000 each. For a regular one, if you have the 4-pass, it's even more money. So putting Vaseline on it, just anything you can do to just with your thumb, just pull over the Vaseline on both the male and female ends of the snaps would make a huge difference. So little thing, but on this island with this climate, the enclosure snaps are critical. And you can take a hose and spray that. That's special Sunbrella material. It's meant for the weather. So in the spring, when it's nice out, hose down that enclosure. Put it out in the sun, let it dry. Anything to help the life of that. When you do send a golf cart back for batteries and has an enclosure on it, there's a risk of Will's barge coming up Highway 19 at 110 and that enclosure flapping. And we encourage people to take the enclosure off before you send it back to us, because we don't transport golf carts with enclosures in an open trailer. We have a little van that we use, or we try to take it all off. And I know it's painful, but I wouldn't be sending Will's barge with your enclosure on it, because he'll do more damage driving up the highway with that enclosure flapping than not. Here we go with the cost of batteries. So barge fee, this is return trip batteries, $19.95. Thanks for mentioning we are the cheapest, because we buy more batteries than Lurco and Napa combined. So we do try and offer the cheapest. That's an hour of labor. And, again, you're over $3,000 for the batteries. It's unbelievable. Half of the carts on this island, I'll be kind, maybe not half, a third of them may not be worth $3,000. So putting a $3,000 battery pack in a cart that's only worth $1,500, here's the risk that people don't understand. When a golf cart comes to us and it's 20 years old and someone says, I can't afford a new cart, just put batteries in it. When you add 48 volts of brand new battery pack into an old cart, it might blow the solenoid, it might blow there's other things that will start to go wrong electronically because you just hit it with this high voltage of a new battery pack. And Club Car, like every other manufacturer of automobiles, is starting to lessen when we can get parts and what year. So we're heading to this may not be able to get parts zone. So we have a website that has a library of information, parts and service manuals, illustrated parts manuals, storage guidelines. And again, reach out if there's any questions. If you're going away, any questions if the cart's acting up. Remember, it's not always easy at the other end of the phone, because we're trying to close our eyes and think, okay, what's really happening over there? You try and describe any information you can help us guess at what might be wrong with that before you spend the money on a barge. Okay, when to trade in your golf cart. Once it hits 20 years old, the useful life of a cart is about 25 years. I know there's carts here that are in the 90s, which means they're over 25 years old. So you're on borrowed time. You have to make that decision. If it needs batteries and it has electrical issues and worn out suspension and brakes, we may not be able to get the parts. I'll give you an example. DS carts, 1997, they no longer make a controller for it. I'm going, how do you not do that? And Club Car's answer is, hey, that's 28 years ago. They're talking 10 years. We're hoping we can keep them at 20 years. But if you can't get a controller, that cart is absolutely useless. We give people $200 and we send it off to the scrapyard because we cannot get parts for it. So be aware of that. It's tough when you're keeping your cart past that 20-year mark. You're on borrowed time, but I caution you about spending $3,000 to throw batteries at something. Now,
So an older view, or if it's 30 years old, is there a way, like,
the reasoning on the, like the 12-volt battery, couldn't you put like 4 in there if it was on its last leg, or no? Is that not a good option?
Explain that further.
Like at 48 volts, couldn't you just put 4 12 volts in there?
The cost of 4 12 volts and 6/8 is exactly the same.
Yeah, but you can get semi batteries for around $100, right?
Sorry, what's that?
Semi batteries, like. It's,
Yeah, you're sort of,
it's 4-way time the game, but.
yeah,
You can, you could
if you can do it and buy yourself some, yeah, if you can buy yourself some time,
When did they start using the 48-volt system compared to 36?
2000, right around 2000.
Cause there's a lot of 36s on the side.
And therein lies the problem, the 36s, so 1997, probably to be exact, but that's that point where the 36 volts, we may not be able to get parts other than batteries and cables.
Yeah.
You're the last set of batteries, in other words.
When we're talking age, are we talking motor or body?
The whole cart.
Because my motor is 06 and my body is 20.
Oh, you changed the motor in 06?
Well, we bought it from you, like,
So we don't normally change the motors.
well, we bought it in 2012 and it was a 6 motor and we got a new body on,
Okay, so the cart was originally in 2006.
I guess,
Yeah. Yeah, that would be. Very seldom do the motors or the controllers go on these carts in the first 20 years, year 25, but yes, you bought an 06 cart in 2012. So it's, it's barely 20 years old, but if it's running fine, I'm not saying quick run out and trade in your cart. If it's running fine, go there. It's when it stops running, you got to evaluate the $3,000 versus how far can you put some batteries in and buy some time.
I think the other piece about buying time too is if your card is of that age, I mean, I think 20 years is generous on this island, considering what it's exposed to. But every other part or component in there is also at the end of its life. So, Ron knows there's a few times that I've seen cards that I'm like, yeah, I can do that. But then you've got problem X and then you've got problem Y. So you spent a couple $100 buying time, but then you are just chasing gremlin after gremlin as these parts start to fail. And if you have the time and energy to do that, that's one thing, but it's a recognition that the whole thing is at the end.
So I'm not expecting people to go and spend $12,000 on a new golf cart. We specialize, 95% of our business is refurbished golf carts. We refurbish a golf cart that came from a golf course. We wouldn't sell you a cart from Bear Mountain because it got beat up, but normal golf courses, 4 or 5 year old cart, we refurbish them. We do the brakes, we do the mechanical, we check everything to make sure, and especially when it's going on an island, we make sure, right? We ship carts to Haida Gwaii, we ship carts to the West Coast. We triple check to make sure it's running properly before you get it. So here we go. It's a good year for us getting carts. So we've now got carts starting at $29.95, less than a pack of batteries. Now, here's the problem. It still may need a rear seat kit put on it. You still may want to add headlights. You may want to put an enclosure. So $29.95 is just a golf cart. It runs perfectly well and it has decent, not new, but decent batteries. So I'm not trying to mislead you. Those are for people that live in the middle of, the island, Parksville or somebody just want a cart for around their house. $29.95, they go, great, this works. I can get 2 years out of the battery. Would I bring that cart to Protection Island with 6-year-old batteries or 4-year-old batteries? I'd be cautious because you're setting yourself up for then this $3,000 bullet. So if you took a $29.95 car and added $2,000 for batteries, you're at, let's just call it $5,000. You had a rear seat kit, you're at $65. It's a $7,500 car by the time you make it for Protection Island with new batteries and everything.
approximately how old would that be, that car?
That one's a 2017. So it's 8 years old. Now, the bulk of what we have coming in with these 150 new carts are 2021s. So you can add a couple of $1,000s to it, but under $10,000, you'd end up with a cart that's fully refurbished, new batteries, enclosure, everything you want under $10,000 with all those extras. It's not a terrible price point, considering you'll get 8 to 10 years of it. Questions about that? So I think we've sold one, maybe two with lithium batteries here. People have bought new carts recently, and those are the 13,995. They're expensive. Our carts are 10,995 for a brand new golf cart. Lithium is 13,900. It's $3,000 more. I don't believe in lithium for that use, and I don't believe none of our golf courses have lithium because we don't sell it. We don't believe in the technology. If it's $1,200 more, we'll sell lithium. At $3,000, it's the reason why I don't have solar panels on my roof, because it doesn't make financial sense. You don't have a windmill in your backyard. When it becomes economic, then we'll all start having solar panels and windmills and lithium batteries. It's not economic yet. And that's why we don't push it, because it doesn't make sense. I would rather you take a 10,995 cart with regular batteries, get your 10 years out of it, and replace them for $2,000. Again, get 10 more years before you'll ever pay that $3,000 in lithium. It has to get cheaper. We see electric cars getting cheaper. I'm not an electric car fan either, so. Ford lost $13 billion. Now they shut down their F-150 Lightning plant because it doesn't make economic sense. It doesn't make sense to have an electric car. And anybody that has a Tesla, my God, wait till the battery packs go. A Nissan Leaf is $32,000. A Tesla is $51,000 for replacement pack. You can take the keys and dispose of it into a garbage. $51,000. Every person in BC, and by the way, we have the highest percentage of electric cars in North America per capita right here in British Columbia. Wait till the battery packs start to fail. And if Elon Musk is going to continue in this business, he'd have a battery recycling plant. He hasn't even gone down that path yet. I think he's going to sell all the shares of Tesla before that happens, because I think he's going to run. You know where these batteries go when we send them back? Anybody know? We wrap them on pallets. They get shipped to Vancouver. They get put on a barge, and they go to North Korea. There is no other battery recycling place in the world for lead acid batteries than North Korea. That's how crazy it is. And yes, it's detrimental to the environment. Wait till you try and dispose of lithium ion batteries. They don't know what to do with that because it's so bad for the environment. The manufacturing of a gasoline car is less detrimental to the environment than the same car in electric, because the manufacturing of lithium batteries is so bad for the environment. They're finding new ways now that are non-lithium, and wait till they go to dispose of it. So if you took a Nissan Leaf and a Nissan Sentra side by side, the impact of a lithium battery pack is so detrimental to the environment. So if you're driving it thinking you're helping the environment, you're not. If you're driving it to save money, you're not. And when you go to dispose of that battery pack and somebody goes, hey, we don't know what to do with it, because there is nobody in North Korea that wants it, it's very bad. So we don't push it, and it doesn't make sense to spend $3,000. And it changes all our philosophy of how to manage it, because the people on Protection Island that do have lithium carts, you're not allowed to wash the battery pack down. I don't know how you get the dirt off it, but you can't get the battery pack wet.
They must be protected though.
Yeah, there's big stickers that say don't wash, don't wash. And then if we replace it, it takes two people. You lift up the whole pack, it's $4,500 to drop a lithium packet. I'm going to go back to you with your question about dropping in packs. So here's what's happening in the Chinese market. There's 18 manufacturers of lithium batteries right now called drop-in lithium packs, and people have come to us and say, are you going to do that? We're saying no, because it's a fire hazard. You can put a $2,000 lithium pack in for the same price of a lead acid pack, and you might get 15 years out of it, but you're makeshifting the connections and the wiring, and we've had horror stories of fires, and we do not do it as a company. If Club Car comes up with one that's certified by Club Car, we'll do it. But I caution you against buying these Chinese aftermarket drop-in lithium packs. They're dangerous. We've had golf courses come to us, and we said, hey, if you want to do it, go ahead. We will not step foot on the property.
They've had a fire on the island.
With lithium?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's dangerous. How do you know, right? You put the golf cart in your garage, or you put your Tesla in the garage, you don't know which one's going to catch fire. We had a truck, we get 28 golf carts on a tractor trailer. He was coming across the US, and smoke started coming to the back. two of the lithium carts caught fire in the back of his truck. They weren't even plugged in. He had to stop. They had to unload the whole trailer. It was just, I mean, we just do not want to see them. We can't stop it. If people want to buy them, we sell them, but we don't promote it. So as painful as the lead acid batteries are with the terminal protected and the spray and the tightening, trust me, it's less expensive, less work. Yeah. So that technology gets better, I would stay away from it. I think that's all we have. Yeah, and again, maximize the life of your golf cart and minimize the expenses. Questions?
Do you have any tips and tricks for a gas cart?
Gas carts should last 30 years.
Perfect. That's all I know. We bought a 2014.
Yeah, they should go 30 years. Here's the key to gas. You're in a climate that has dust and gravel. Keep the air filter clean. You can literally take it out and blow it with a hose, like with an air compressor hose. Keep the air filter clean and change the oil. Depending on how much you use it, you can change it once a year, once every 2 years, but keeping the oil clean and the fuel filter and the air filter clean, that's all it takes. Gas cars run forever. The reason we don't often have used gas cars is they just run forever. They go 30, 40 years, they just keep going. But, you know, again, there's a trade-off, right? So you're good to go.
Copy.
You're only allowed 4 questions.
Yeah, my final
You're done.
Can you bring back this slide? And I was just wondering, if you set up your cable, yeah, or maybe the closer up. Another one, go back.
One that,
Yeah. Okay, so you have the terminal and there's the round lead cart. So there's where you attach your terminal and then there's that. Right?
yeah,
Does it matter if this cable crosses that?
No.
Or should it stay with it? There's no sense of
No.
shorting and there.
no, because it's all connected to the same, whatever you connect your cable, it's all part of that same terminal.
Yeah, just there was one I had where it almost seemed like the metal was touched and I so I was.
Bend out, yeah.
I have one question, my golf carts, are traveling along very nicely until it slows it up. And I take my foot over the accelerator, back on the accelerator, and after a while it stops up again. So it does is slowing down, speeding up the battery, the fine, everything else, but it's something to do with it.
Two electronic parts. One's called an M core, which is in the brake pedal, which could be causing it, and one's a speed sensor, which is about this big and hooks onto the back of the motor. That's either of those is the fault. We should be able to plug it in and diagnose it and tell you what it is. Kimberly would be able to plug it in and it should tell her on the electronic what it is. It's one of those two parts.
So can Kim do that on your own?
Yeah. She's a diagnostic tool. So our goal with Kimberly moving forward is to help us diagnose problems like that. You wouldn't want to put your cart in a barge for $400 to find out it's $100 part. So if you describe what's happening, it'll help us figure it out. Step 1 and step 2 is put a diagnostic and see what it is.
Great, thanks very much.
Did you take a?
You're running out of questions.
They didn't have to use a key anymore, it plugs into the lighter thing and it shows what the battery charges and it also is, I think it's a number to start at.
It's a number to give you access instead of a key start.
Right, yeah.
Okay, what's the question?
Well, is this a wise purchase? Is it something that's gonna cause problems?
Anytime, that's the right word. Anytime you put an aftermarket part in,
Yeah,
you run the risk.
right.
Was it wired properly? Is it compatible with the system? It's just, and I hate to say going to OEM, but original equipment manufacturers have specs for a reason.
Yeah,
If it's small things you can get from Amazon, cosmetic things,
yeah,
I'd be careful with anything electronic. It makes me nervous.
Yeah.
Because it could be the cause.
Yeah.
I drove a Volvo once and I put one of those car starters in it, right? I took it in for something else, and as soon as the technician opened the hood, he goes, "Oh, close the hood, we're done." Because I had something that wasn't made by Volvo. I'm like, oh my gosh, I had to go have it taken out and bring the car back. But people get very nervous about electronic problems, and the new cars these days are a nightmare.
Would anyone like to go outside and look at the batteries in the golf cart? And look at connections and lightning?
Yeah, we'll just go over it quick, just to, you know, so it's a physical check.
I want to see how you.
Yeah, we're gonna show you that.
Where exactly? When?
We'll spray your batteries down. They look like they're spray. They're not bad. But Kimberly made sure hers looks really good because she knew she was gonna be the victim. Yeah. Get a battery and come to the court. So hers are what it's supposed to look like, and yours are maybe on the edge.
Okay.
Kimberly did my batteries, she said, clean my.
Here.
Mhm.
Okay, well, hopefully this was helpful. And again, please reach out if there's questions. We'll go outside and have a look. Emily, thanks for your help.
Yeah, no, great.
Oh,